And I do like using a structured two-column notes where I sort of say these are kind of things I'm looking for. I am directing them to certain areas, but they're the ones that are engaged in the process, and they actually have to think about, all right, where am I going to find this in the reading? What are some things about this that are key to understanding this particular idea? Today we're going to look at a third event that happened just before the 1920s that creates quite a stir in the country, and that is prohibition. We're going to take a look at an interview that I think is pretty interesting from a woman who was there, living in Maine. She was probably in her 20s at the time, maybe her late teens, and she remembers all about prohibition and what it was like to live in Maine and what are some of the things that people did to get around it. We're going to do some work with two-column notes, and we've used two-column notes before. What is it that goes on the left-hand side on two-column notes? What do we usually put on the left side? Yes.
Things to look for.
Okay, things to look for. These are, so in this case it's guided. I'm sort of telling you what are the things I want you to find in this article. And what do we look for in the right-hand column? Sean?
Pieces of information.
All right, pieces of information. What are the specific things that we're going to be, that you're going to find that will match the questions that we're asking? All right, how do you think two-column notes is different from just lecture notes? What's the difference? Are they the same? Okay.
They pick out the bigger ideas that you actually need to focus on rather than writing like everything down.
Okay. You don't have to write everything down. You pick up big ideas. Okay, why don't we kind of come back together? What happened to the old duffer? Who would you describe him as being? Yes.
I put a person on the island to make moonshine.
All right. So he's a moonshiner, right? For one thing, they've had more ownership of the learning, and they've thought about these things a little more. We've had better discussions than we did before, because a lot of times I would try to discuss things when students weren't doing the reading, so I was basically talking to them and saying, "This is what your book says." And my son reminded me, he said, I had teachers that's all they did was tell me what the book said. He said, I could read the book. And I think the nice thing is, this is really getting the kids to read. It's getting them to think, and that's the goal. Do you know that, would it surprise you to find out that there were more people that were drinkers after Prohibition than there were before Prohibition started? Right? Some people had no idea at all that they wanted to drink, and all of a sudden they can. So they do.